Hi folks, Colin here, back with more rock and roll. Today I'm going to talk about the key insights that I've got from learning guitar and teaching it over the last 4 years. So this is going to be a bit practical and a bit philosophical, and I hope it'll help people. If you've got any kind of points along your journey where you've struggled, this should help you. So the first thing I'd like to say is, it doesn't matter where you are in your guitar journey, what you've got is of value. So you don't have to be the best in the world. I think the problem is quite often we're comparing ourselves with others, and that's not really the point of playing guitar. You know, the point of playing guitar is to have fun. That's number one. So if you just got a few chords, you can do a lot. You can make music. So, but the thing you've got to work with is just use it. You know, use what you have. So even just with chords, A, D, D, E, anything like that. As long as you've got rhythm, it's going to make music. So that's point number one. And for some people, that might be all you need. You know, I play with people regularly who are determined not to learn more guitar than they need, because it takes away from what it is they're trying to do. If they're singing or whatever, that's a distraction. And I've had to stop doing other stuff because I have to focus on guitar. So that's another point, is really make sure you focus on the important things and forget about the rest. So the other thing I was going to talk about is make sure you use what you have to best advantage. So if you've got like simple chords like cowboy chords, you might find that you can put a pinky on if you're playing a D chord, take fingers off, and you're starting to make little tunes. And you can, instead of playing the chord all at once, you can do that as well. You can just play little arpeggios, which is like one string at a time. And then you can start to sort of make little tunes out. So straight away, you know, just with basic chords, you sound to an untrained ear, and you know, everyone that listens to these and watches these videos knows what I'm doing, but to the public, if you're playing a gig, that sounds, you know, that's quite interesting. It sounds a little bit 60s maybe, but you know, it's going to get folks' attention, and you don't need to go much further than that quite often. The next thing to be aware of is everything that you do down here is movable. So just with your little straightforward cowboy chords, you can start to make more music than perhaps you're aware of. But the key thing to be noticing is that you really kind of need to know where your roots are. So the root is whatever the chord is called is the root. So that's the bass note in the chord. So if we're playing a D chord, you have to know that your root is on the second string. So then if you want to go to the G chord, which is the next chord or the 4 chord in the key of D, you're going to have to look for your G note. And the roots are the most important thing really to get familiar with. So you kind of need to know that, and a lot of people learn the roots by playing the bar chords, which is great. That's how I learned where my roots were for a long time, just playing bar chords, because people learn the bottom sort of string because they're used to playing this E-shaped bar chord. So they'll learn A, for example, and know they've got B, C, D, and then you're back to E again. And then down here, C, D, E, F, G, A. So you want to do the same thing with the D chord and the A chord as well. And once you've kind of got that, then down the line you will find that when you start playing with the pentatonic scales, that's going to be massive. So that's a key point. And the next point really is to start with pentatonic scale pattern 1. Now everybody's probably groaning at this point, thinking, oh no, and I've done that before and it doesn't really get me anywhere. Well, I think part of the reason is they forget that when you're soloing, you're only playing for a short part of the song. So even just knowing pattern 1 in position 1 might be enough for a solo, because invariably just a few notes is actually quite often all you need for a solo, and it might even be a solo that repeats. You know, just a few little notes gets you quite a long way. And I've done a video on this where I talk about you've got to be aware that if you're playing a minor pentatonic, you're going to be playing over a minor bar-shaped chord or a major bar-shaped chord. And people go, "Hey, wait a minute, how does that work, Colin? Because you got a raised third." Well, the reason it works is just because people have been doing it for a long time because they didn't know any better. And the blues is a very forgiving musical language, and people worked with what they had, and this is the key, as I was alluding to earlier. If you only know, then that's all you can do. And what you find is, if people go, "Oh, well, no, that's not always the case with the blues." Well, it's not always the case with the blues, no, but you'll find that the blues evolved as a music over the 20th century if you start studying it. And you can, this is interesting to me because I've been learning and transcribing rock and roll and blues for quite a long time, and you can actually see the sort of consciousness of the music evolving through time, and you can see some artists got it quicker than others as well, and it's just through playing with each other. So basically the reason that flat third works over an A is because our ear has kind of got used to it. But if you resolve to a major, that's good as well. So the next thing really is, well, first of all, be aware that when you're playing with your first finger it's minor. I'm adding extra notes in, what I'll talk about in a minute. When you've got your root on your pinky, that's a major. So I've done a video on this. I'll go into that in more detail, but this is kind of like the key point to learn. Get that pentatonic scale under your fingers and understand that you're going to play it off a root in a minor, or you're going to play it off a root with your first finger on a minor and a major with your pinky. That's massive, and you can actually, to be honest, get through pretty much every solo just with these basic principles. So then people go, right, okay, so I've got the pattern 1, I've got to learn pattern 2, then I've got to learn pattern 3, then I've got to learn pattern 4, and they just sort of give up along the way. So that's very misleading. So pattern 1 is the key. The next thing you've got to do is you've got to learn the extensions. So that extension there is actually pattern 5, and I'll make a specific video on that at some point. So you've got to learn extension down the way, and there's loads of videos on this on the internet. And you've got to learn the extension up the way, which is pattern 2. But that's, to be honest, pretty much all you need to know in terms of the adjacent patterns. And as I say, I'm not going into detail in this video. But the next one, which is of use to learn, is pattern 4. So we've learned pattern 1. All you do is you move up a string. But you have to remember to move the B string up a fret. So it's like pattern 1. So it's 5 8 5 7 5 7 6 8 5 8. And then it's 5 8 5 on the bottom. But your root is on the A string. So those are the two key scales to learn, the pentatonic scales, pattern 1 and pattern 4. And again, with pattern 4, you learn the extensions down the way and up the way as well. So once you got that, you can, because you can move the roots, the scales over the roots of the chords, you can pretty much play every solo in 2 positions, and that's pretty much it, really, to be honest. Once you've got that, you've got the basics of learning the guitar in solo style. So key point of that is not all positions are equal. 1 and 4 are the daddies, and the rest are really kind of extension type scales. So for example, if you're playing a major bar chord, you're actually in pattern 2, which is a real pain to learn, actually, to be honest. It's worth learning. It's worth learning because it works really well for the major scale, but down the line. But don't worry about that, we're just talking about getting through the first stages of learning lead guitar. But the bottom strings of pattern 3 are really good. So where we're in pattern 2 here, we're playing an A. So if you go 7 9, 7 9, 7 9, that section of pattern 3 is really good. So I'm playing an A major scale there, A major pentatonic. And again, the key point to know is every time you learn something on the E string, it works on the A string as well, because it's just a 4th up. So whenever you're learning a riff, for example, it usually works on the string below and the string above. So you can move it, so start off on the E, move up to A, and then D also works. Okay, so those are some sort of practical ideas. Now, one of the other challenges that people have when they're learning the guitar is knowing how to get the sort of finger dexterity working. The most important exercise for this is the spider, which is so simple. It's just one fret per finger, and then you just move it down a fret and down a fret. And you should do it with a metronome. If you can do that and just do it at the speed of the metronome, which kind of works, where you can play the the exercise correctly, and just work at that level. And then once that gets easier, you just move it up and move the speed up gradually over time. And it takes about a month. And once you got through that, then your picking is going to be really good and nice and smooth. One of the other things that I should talk about is think of, hear triads being mentioned all the time. Triads are so good because what they do is you can link them to chords. So for example, we were doing that D chord, link them to scale. So that, what you begin to realise is that the chords are within the scales. The triads are within the scale. So that little D shape is like the foot of pattern 4. So that means that my root's there, G, so I'm playing G major pentatonic. So again, these are like little signposts. Just the way that when we're playing pattern 1, oops, the signposts are the roots on our low string. The root now is on the 2nd string when that D, and the other one is the A shape. So I use that. So I've got my root's actually here, and this is pattern 5 of the pentatonic scale. But if you slide, so if I'm playing C, 5 to 7, I'm now in pattern 1. So whenever I want to play a major pentatonic lick, I usually do it off that A-shaped bar chord. It's so handy. And then when I'm doing the major off the E string, just as I spoke about before, I'm pattern 2, which is a bit of a mare to play in, but I've got pattern 3. So these are really useful. Other things I was thinking about talking about, finger picking I've found to be a bit of a dead end. I spent a lot of time learning how to Travis pick. I wouldn't recommend that if you're wanting to get into lead guitar playing. It's impressive, it looks good, sounds good, but it's not going to give you the improvisational freedom that perhaps you're looking for, and that I think is what most people are looking for when they learn guitar. So yeah, the only other thing I think I would talk about is that pedals are a bit of a distraction. So I wouldn't bother too much about pedals. I don't have any pedals in at the moment. Now you might think my tone could be better, but it's all about context. So it maybe doesn't sound like earth-shatteringly amazing tone right now, but I can just put in a very kind of subtle. You do need a bit of reverb generally, but you've usually got the reverb built into the amplifier. But if you're playing in a band, you don't want to dominate the band completely. You know, you might need a little boost pedal to play a solo just so your volume comes up in the mix. But generally speaking, people are not really listening to you, they're really listening to the singer. The guitar player is really meant to be the backing. And some people struggle with this idea, and I've played in bands where I've had other guitarists who've actually struggled with that. I probably shouldn't say that anyway. But that can be an issue, I've found. So by all means get into pedals, but they're quite expensive, they tend to be quite messy, they're awkward to set up, they affect your sound when, you know, if you're playing in venues, you want to have your sound as simple as possible because you're going to get all sorts of buzzing and feedback, and it's just another thing to have to worry about. So I would leave pedals, to be honest. You might, if you want to focus on a particular style, then you probably will need pedals. So for example, you want to do rockabilly, you will need a delay pedal if you want to absolutely nail the style. But once you get into actually playing music, it's more about the notes than it is about the specifics of the tone, I've found. As long as your tone's not stupid, then you'll be fine. Okay, so I think these are the key points that I've learned teaching guitar over the last 4 years. Let me know what you think. I'm sure some people will agree with that and some people strongly disagree, but I'm interested in the debate, and you know, I think the purpose of making these videos is to try and get us all a bit better along the road. And I've learned a lot by teaching people. It's amazing insights that I discover just by explaining stuff to other people. And I recommend anyone who's got a bit of guitar knowledge teaches other people who are interested in guitar, because you're also going to make yourself a better player by doing so. Okay folks, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I'll be back next week with more rock and roll. Keep rocking.